Black Dahlia Avenger Zodiac, the identical MO and crime signatures. I'll begin my follow-up investigation by reintroducing and adding to a list of modus operandi and crime signatures used by Dr. George Hodel in the 1940s, and compare them to those used by Zodiac, who began his separate urban reign of terror some 20 years later in the 1960s. While a few of the 29 MO crime signature patterns listed below, if isolated, could be considered generic, in combination they become extremely rare. In my 24 years with the LAPD, I investigated more than 300 separate homicides. None of those murders included the signatory acts and exceptionally rare MO of mailing in mocking and taunting notes to the press and police, along with sending personal threats to the victim's parents, mailed directly to their home address. In fact, I'm unable to find a single modern-day serial killer prior to Zodiac's 1966 Riverside killing, Sherry Jo Bates, who has used the specific MO of taunting the police and press with letters containing obvious misspellings, with only one exception, Dr. George Hodel in the 1940s, calling himself the Black Dahlia Avenger. Prior to those crimes, we have to go back another 60 years to 1888 and London's Jack the Ripper. George Hodel was employed as a reporter for both Los Angeles, the LA Record, and San Francisco, the San Francisco Chronicle, newspapers. In both the Black Dahlia Avenger and the Zodiac crimes, law enforcement suspected the killer might have had ties to or prior employment with their local newspapers. In previous investigative summaries in BDA, BDA2, and Most Evil, I addressed many other specific links to handwriting characteristics, as well as the surrealist connections to art, literature, music, and film. In 2010, a California Department of Justice question document expert examined George Hodel's handwriting, compared it to known Zodiac letters, and while not being able to positively connect him, stated, "We are unable to eliminate George Hodel as the writer-author of the Zodiac letters." Department of Justice at that time requested I provide them with additional lowercase samples of my father's handwriting, which to date remain unavailable or non-existent. Let's take a look at some of the many MO signature similarities between Avenger and Zodiac. First off, obviously, they were both serial killers. Created his own marketing public relations campaign, along with inventing and providing newspapers with a pseudonym for them to use in headlining his crimes and his reign of terror. Of course, Black Dahlia Avenger, created by George Hodel, and Zodiac created his own pseudonym. Contacted and taunted the press by telephone after the crimes. Both. Contacted and taunted the police by telephone after the crimes. Used the press as his instrument to terrorize public, promising there will be more. Drew a crude picture of a knife dripping blood, mailed the drawing to the press. This was done by both Black Dahlia Avenger and Zodiac. Brought pre-cut lengths of clothesline and used them to bind and tie his victims during the crimes. Again, both Avenger and Zodiac. Mailed more than a dozen notes to police and press, feigning illiteracy, using misspelled words, disguised as handwriting. Mailed cut and paste notes to the press and police. Mailed a typewritten letter describing his actions to the police. Placed excessive postage and multiple stamps on the taunting notes he mailed to the press and police. Addressed press mailings to the editor. Mailings were sent on particular anniversary dates related to his crimes. He packaged and mailed personal items belonging to his murdered victims to the press to prove he was the killer. This was done both by Black Dahlia Avenger and Zodiac. Told the victims and the press he was going to Mexico. Used a knife, a gun, and a rope in his separate crimes. Included puns and word games in his mailings. The killer continued to send in mailings to the press and the police months and years after the original crimes were committed. Egomaniacal personality, demanded constant media publicity, front page coverage under threat of additional killings. Identified himself as an avenger, claiming he was wronged by the female victim, or claimed he was getting revenge for being spurned and ignored by the victim. Informs the public that the crime was justified, or was divine retribution. Several victims stabbed with a long-bladed jungle or bayonet-style knife. Wrote taunting message at scene, either on a bedroom wall, nearby telephone post, a door panel of victim's vehicle, or on victim's body. Manually rips away band from a man's wristwatch and left both the band and the watch at separate crime scenes on or near the victim's body. Left a man's white handkerchief either at the scene near the body or used it to wipe away his fingerprints from inside the victim's vehicle or from a knife left at the crime scene. He geographically pre-selected the crime scene location by plotting coordinates on a map, then randomly murdered victims who, by happenstance, entered his killing zone. Geographically pre-selected crime scene location by plotting coordinates on a map, then had unwitting victim, in this case was a taxi driver, drive him to that specific location, where the victim is then shot and killed. Forcibly kidnapped the female victim, strangles her to death, dismembers the body with surgical skill and precision, then poses the body parts in public view at a specific location, street name, that provided taunting clue related to his crime or the suspect. In this case it was Degnan, the street name Degnan, and Zodiac in Manila. Brutal assault and overkill, particularly savage with female victims. Telephoned and or sent sadistic note to victims' parents after the brutal murder of their daughter. Mailed to the newspaper editor by Black Dahlia Avenger in 1947, signing it a friend. In 1974, Zodiac mails to the newspaper editor, signing it a friend, both of them using a small a